The heat was suffocating on the tarmac that afternoon, the kind of heat that blurs your vision and makes everything shimmer like a dream you can't quite hold on to. But for Elijah, crouched beneath the gleaming underbelly of a private jet, sweat streaming down his neck, this wasn't a dream. It was a nightmare waiting to happen. He could smell it. Something was wrong. The scent of leaking fuel was faint but unmistakable, and if the pilot revved the engine just once more, the entire aircraft could go up in flames. He yelled, waving his arms frantically to get someone's attention. That jet was set to take off in 15 minutes. And inside, sipping champagne and barking orders into her phone, was the woman who had looked him in the eye just 3 hours earlier and said, "You don't even belong here." Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of people proving others wrong, please take a second to let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Now let's take you back to how it all began. 2. Elijah Carter wasn't supposed to be at that airstrip. He wasn't even supposed to be in that city. Just 6 months earlier, he had been sleeping in the back of his rusted-out car in a grocery store parking lot, applying for mechanical jobs during the day and washing dishes at a diner at night. He had a degree in aerospace mechanics, sure, but no connections, no family left, and too many people who'd shut doors in his face the moment they saw the dirt under his fingernails. But he never gave up. Eventually, a job came up through a temp agency for a temporary ground support technician at Morningside Aero, a luxury private aviation company that catered to the ultra-rich and ultra-powerful. It was the kind of place that made you walk on eggshells just being near it. The hangars gleamed like silver cathedrals, and everyone wore sunglasses, suits, or stilettos, even if they were just ordering a sandwich. Elijah didn't care about the glitz. He just wanted to work, fix things, earn his place. And on his first day, he did just that, repairing a hydraulic failure that would have delayed a senator's departure. The team took notice. Not in a good way. "You talk too much, work too fast, and you're making the rest of us look bad," one of the older mechanics had muttered. Elijah shrugged it off. Then came her, Victoria St. James, CEO of Morningside, blonde, flawless, intimidating. The kind of woman who looked like she'd never tasted failure, never touched dirt, never cried over a rejection letter. She stepped out of a black SUV with a designer bag that probably cost more than Elijah's annual salary. He didn't know who she was at first. Just another V passenger, he thought. Until she walked past him, wrinkled her nose at his uniform, and muttered to her assistant, "Who hired him? He looks like he doesn't even belong here." Elijah had heard worse. But somehow, that stung more than usual. That week, the team was prepping her personal Gulfstream jet for a flight to Geneva. Every inch of the aircraft had to be perfect. But Elijah noticed something others didn't. The fuel tank readings were slightly off, not enough to trigger alarms, but enough to worry someone who'd worked on engines for years, even if unofficially. He brought it up. Was told to back off. "You're new. Don't overstep." But something gnawed at him. He couldn't sleep. Kept seeing the jet in flames. So that morning, when he clocked in early, he quietly ran another diagnostic. And that's when he smelled it. The faint but sharp scent of fuel vapor, dangerously close to the heated turbines. He ran toward the hangar office. They brushed him off. "It's not your department, Carter." So he ran toward the jet, waving, shouting, just as the crew was pulling away the wheel blocks. Inside the jet, Victoria looked out the window, annoyed. "Why is he running toward us?" she asked, sipping her mimosa. Her assistant looked out. "It's that new mechanic again. Probably trying to impress someone." But Elijah wouldn't stop. He threw himself onto the tarmac in front of the wheel. That made people notice. The engine was shut down just in time. What they found shook the entire facility, a hairline crack in one of the auxiliary fuel lines. It had been improperly sealed during a last-minute rush repair. The vibration from takeoff would have been enough to rupture it. Igniting the leaking fuel near the heated engine mount, Elijah had stopped an explosion that would have killed Victoria and her crew before they ever left the ground. The hangar was dead silent when the lead technician delivered the report. Victoria walked up to Elijah later that afternoon, heels echoing sharply on the hangar floor. Her eyes didn't hold their usual frost. Instead, they shimmered, not with fear, but something else. Gratitude, maybe, or shame. "You saved my life," she said quietly. Elijah didn't know what to say. He just nodded. Later that day, she called an emergency board meeting. Within 48 hours, Elijah was promoted to lead safety inspector, a position that had been vacant for months. He received a permanent contract, full benefits, and his own team. He got a proper uniform, not the hand-me-downs he'd been wearing. And perhaps most surprisingly, he got a handwritten note from Victoria herself. It read simply, "I was wrong. You belong here more than anyone I know. Thank you for reminding me what real value looks like." But the story doesn't end there. Elijah could have taken his promotion quietly. He could have faded into the system and collected a paycheck. Instead, he spoke up. Again, he asked Victoria to revisit the company's hiring practices, to consider overlooked talent. People without connections, people like him. At first, there was resistance. But she listened. Maybe because she remembered what it felt like to sit in a seat she almost didn't get to leave alive. 3 months later, Morningside launched a pilot program to recruit skilled laborers from community colleges, vocational schools, and re-entry programs. Elijah became its first ambassador. He traveled to schools, taught weekend workshops, mentored young mechanics who had been told, "You don't belong." One too many times. 1 year after that fateful day, Victoria stood beside Elijah on a stage at an aviation conference in Dubai. They announced a partnership with 3 new training centers and a scholarship fund in Elijah's name. People often ask Elijah what it felt like to save the life of the woman who once doubted him. He always says the same thing. "She didn't know me. But now she does, and I think she needed to remember that people like me keep planes in the air." And, when asked what he would have done if he had been fired that day for speaking up, he always smiles. "I still would have waved my arms." Because when someone's in danger, you don't worry about whether you belong. You just try to help.